This is an interview that I did recently with Colleen Byram for her Mediumship Development Forum group on Facebook. And it's in two parts, lasts just over 45 minutes. And in part one, I talk about how I came to mediumship and teaching, plus the products and the study program I've gone on to develop. In part two, I talk about training, meditation, and give a lot of guidance on how to sit in the power. I do hope you enjoy it and can take a lot from it.
Hi, everybody. This is Colleen Byram. I am an admin on Mediumship Development Forum and on Mediumship 101 Development Group. I'm coming back to you again today with another interview, and I'm super excited today because, as you guys know who read my posts, I'm constantly recommending that people go to YouTube and check out our today's guest, Martin Twycross. Martin is an approved tutor at Arthur Findlay College, and he has developed a very full-featured and robust mediumship training course that he offers as a home course, and I'm going to have him talk to us more about that today. So without further ado, let me say, hi, Martin. Welcome.
Hi, Colleen. Thanks for having me.
I'm really tickled that you're here today. You know, one of the things that our mediums are always interested in are the unfoldment of other mediums' journeys. And there's a sense that mediums are born, and I find myself disabusing this all the time. And what's really fascinating to me about you is that you have a more common story than people, I think, know, and that is your journey was triggered by a personal loss. Can you talk to us about how, not about the loss, but about how your journey kicked off and how it came about for you?
Absolutely, yeah. So with myself, you often hear a lot of people say I was a medium from birth. I was a medium, when I was in my childhood, and I could see children, I could see spirit. Not me, I'm afraid, no. I didn't have any inkling I was a medium at all until in my 30s, as you say, when I suffered a loss. It was actually the passing of my mother to the spirit world that was the trigger for my own mediumship development. I think I'd had an interest in spiritual things, and I'd even had an interest in wanting to explore spiritualism prior to that time. But I had no inclination, really, of ever wanting to become a medium or having any idea that I could become a medium. But I lost my mother, and within a short space of time, matter of 3 weeks, I went to a spiritualist church looking for evidence, because I had a very strange phenomena happen at the time of her passing. I knew within my mind the exact time she'd pass. Oh. And I told the family, she will pass at this day, this time. And everyone thought I was crazy, as you can imagine. And I was there, and I said, it's tonight. And they said, no, don't be silly. And exactly at the time I suggested would happen, it happened. Not that my mother had ever heard that. I never said it in front of her, by the way.
No.
And just in case anyone's listening and thinking there's a power of suggestion there. I'm also a hypnotherapist, so I know about suggestion. So I made sure I'd never speak about it in front of anybody and make sure no one ever said it in front of her. But, for some reason, that was what I'd call precognition. And it was there. And for me, I was privileged and blessed to be there at the moment she passed and to be able to help her with her passing. And the exact moment of passing, I knew within my soul, my being, that there was an afterlife. And I knew within my being that I'd not truly lost her. I then just had to prove it to myself. So then I found a spiritualist church local to me. I went along, and I sat in the back corner like you do, with your arms folded, thinking, I hope the medium doesn't come to me tonight. And third or fourth link, the medium came to me, and he said, I've got your mother here. And he described the most amazing things that no one knew. He even described what took place at the last moment, which nobody knew. And I just knew then, absolutely, there is an afterlife. And everyone said to me, well, why don't you come tomorrow night? It's open platform. Why don't you come along and see if you get another message? And I said, okay, I'll come along. And sure enough, my grandfather came through the next night with amazing evidence as well. And in the space of 2 days, I got the most amazing proof from spirit. But it was said to me in the very first link that I too would become a medium. Now, anyone who knows me knows how skeptically I would take that. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I bet they say that to everybody who comes through the door. Right. And I kind of poo-pooed it. And people said to me, no, you don't often get told that. So And strangely, I started sitting in circle within the month. I was drawn to it. I started sitting, and I had a most bizarre experience the first time I sat. I actually physically ran out of the room.
What happened?
I was just so overpowered by the energy. I just felt almost claustrophobic by the energy, and I just couldn't sit. And I had to go and leave the room, and the teacher followed me out and said, "Don't worry, there's just so much energy there waiting to work with you, and you just need to learn to control it." So sure enough, that was the only experience I had that was odd. And after that, it all settled down and all unfolded quite dramatically quickly, actually, in my case. The medium who gave me the very first message, he said, "You'll work on this platform within 18 months. And I thought, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Wow.
And sure enough, I began development, and my teacher at the time, a lovely lady called Sheila Thomas, she invited me to work on platform with her. And she said, "You're ready now to come on platform." I said, "No, I'm not." And she said, "Yes, you are." And I said, "No, I'm not." She said, "Yes, you are." I said, "All right, I better go." And I think I was lousy. I personally think I was awful. And I probably was awful. But when I actually looked at the dates, it was 19 months, not 18. 19 months was my first time working platform. So the medium is 1 month out, but it happened very rapidly. So for some reason, what Spirit wanted to impart that day became reality for me.
That's a fantastic story. I'm so glad you shared that with us because, again, this is a common theme in our community. People, and a lot of people come into the forums who have experienced loss, and I can feel how tentative that they are about, oh, I couldn't do this, could I? And so that's a real gift that you shared that with them. I feel also very much that you have a calling as a teacher. That it's really not just to establish your own sense of evidence, but you've been very quickly called forward on this path of teaching. Tell us about that.
Well, again, that was rather rapid as well. And you will find some mediums who say that you shouldn't start teaching until you've been an established medium for X amount of years, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And with me, I started teaching in 2005. I started working platform in 2003. I started development in 2001. So I was only working platform for a very short time before I began to teach as well. And again, I kind of felt the teaching felt a bit soon, but I'd give it a go. And I actually found that I really enjoyed it. And some people have said I was a natural at it, but that's for them to say. I just enjoyed it. I'm passionate about mediumship. I'm passionate about teaching. So I naturally fell into that quite easily. For me, it's a wonderful thing to do to help people.
Well, I think anybody who's looked at your videos wouldn't have any problem confirming that you're a natural teacher and that you have an empathetic link with students. And I feel like there's a generosity in your teaching that you really want to impart the how to do it, not just a couple of tricks and tips, but the actual teaching them how to fish, not just giving them fish part of teaching.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. And for me, one thing I found challenging was when I wanted to learn mediumship, I'd go on courses, I'd go on workshops, I'd go on seminars, and I'd say, how do you do this? And people would say to me, stop asking questions, stop asking why, just do it. And I'm like, no, but if you teach me the mechanisms to do it, the methodology to do it, surely I'll be able to do it more easily. And a lot of people couldn't teach me that. And I was quite surprised that there wasn't as much teaching on the mechanics as I would have liked. Because I've got a scientific background. I have a degree in physics. I've got a master's in environmental science. My background is very scientific. And I worked for a long time in doing sort of science type stuff. And because of that, I like to know the basis. I like the foundations. I like the explanation. And I didn't always get that as easily as I would like.
I knew that I had a connection with you. We're both kind of secret, not so secret geeks.
That's what it is then.
Is in technology. So I love it when we start looking at the borders between, this world of magical thinking that we tend to inhabit and the quantum physics of the work that we're doing, which is very interesting and maybe not something everybody's interested in, but I certainly am. So Martin, I should have asked you this in our interview prep, so I'm going to ask you now. Where's your book?
That's cruel. But I am writing it.
Of course you are. And can we, well, first of all, let me say that I would like to have you back right now. I want to have you back when the book is released so that we can have a little author's party online and celebrate the publication of the book. Do you have is it enough in shape that you can talk about what year it might be out in?
I'd like it to be end of this year, but it could potentially be early 19. So the deadline for completion of it is end of this year. But as we know with books, sometimes they have a habit of taking longer than we expect. And, and it's my first book, so it may take a bit longer than I'm expecting. This is a problem. So.
Oh, well, I'm so glad we stumbled across this because I've wondered all along how come this guy hasn't put this down in a book? And let me say, I share your frustration with the lack of emphasis on mechanics. And a lot of the mediumship books, and we're getting a little bit better about it, but so much of it is sort of, I call them clever little me stories, how I got to be, you know what I mean? And which is interesting. We all want to read about it, but also we want to know more about how to actually put it together. Can you take a minute and talk to us about your course that you offer and what's in it and how it works and all that stuff?
So I'll just say the book will actually be the first companion book to the course as well. And the book is actually going to cover the first half so I'm intended to cover mediumship within my course in 2 books. So this is the first part. This covers the first half. So let me take a step back. So with my teaching, what I found, I started doing some classes within the church, which I called mediumship theory classes. That's originally what I started calling them, where I tried to give everybody the whole theory underpinning mediumship from absolute beginner all the way through to advanced work in medium, doing platform work, doing sittings, doing the address, prayers, philosophy. So I tried to cover all of it across a series of staged classes. And some people couldn't attend all the classes and said, will you video the classes? And I said, well, okay. And really the videos originally started out as just being for those people at the classes who couldn't make it. But people said to me, this is great stuff. We get so much benefit from these videos. You should make them available. So I did. The first set of videos were a set of 12 I made available. And then as I grew and learned and developed more, I realized I'd missed out so much material. So I went back and developed a whole bunch more. And now there's 24 videos in the program. And they're designed to teach the theory of mediumship. That is the purpose of it. It's designed to give people the underlying foundations. All those questions that I asked all those teachers, why, how does it all work? What techniques can you give me? What do I need to know to speed this process up? And as you said, you suggest I was a generous teacher. And for me, if I know it, you can have it. I don't hold anything back. If I think it will help you, I'll give it to you. And some people have suggested I give away far too much. Some people tell me that you shouldn't give anywhere near that much information away. You should hold it back. But I believe, why should any information be held back? If all this information is given from Spirit anyway, why shouldn't it be made accessible to everybody? And my other key thing as well is I've always decided that whatever I do, I will always offer it at a fair price. This is a commitment I made to Spirit, that I never ever want to overcharge for what I offer, because in terms of what I offer, I always want it to be available to everybody at a reasonable cost. Sure, there's got to be an exchange, but not so that it's prohibitively expensive. And the other thing I like is no barriers of entry in terms of geography, or in terms of having to be available at a specific time. So with all the stuff I do, it's all about, it's accessible at any stage for anybody. So with a video, you purchase it as a DVD or a video download, and you can watch it as many times as you like, and it's yours to keep forever. And people say to me, they come back to watch it time and time again. And where we're at with our own mediumship changes over time. And what we take from it changes at any given time. So we can watch it 10 times, and each time we watch it, we'll get something different from it. And that's what I like about teaching programs, where you have that ability to work with it multiple times rather than it's a one-shot deal. It doesn't get recorded. And if you, like me, I have a terrible memory. I have to say I have a dreadful memory. My way of keeping information and processing it is I have to write it down. I take copious notes, because if I don't write, I forget. And if you ask me what happened what happened today, tomorrow, it's hard for me to recall. So because I've got such a poor memory, I like to write things down. And that's my style. And I can go back to my notes and I can revisit them. And I like that. I like to be able to revisit teaching multiple times. And that's just me. That's my learning style. So for me, that a video download fits a better fit for me than me saying, here's 12 classes, but you've got to be available at this Sunday night at this time. And, you know, if you want to be part of them. So I'd rather video it. It's there for the world if they want it. That's kind of part of my approach. And then,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So then it then migrated from this set of videos. I then decided that, well, I still would like more to add it to it. And so I then launched a study program online. And I'm very grateful to all those people who showed faith in me by joining it and being part of the first wave. And what we did was we did tutorials online in my own webinar classroom. And I got them to send me in advance all their questions on all the videos. I made about 30 to 40 questions on each video. So bearing in mind that each video is about 2 hours to 2.5 hours, there's quite a lot in it. Then we had about another 30 to 40 questions on each video. And people asked me, well, it's all very well giving us the theory, but what about some ideas for exercises to work with it? So I brought that in as well. And we kind of like took it to another level of depth with tutorials, which again were recorded. And again, I now make available to everybody. So my program, if you like, it's more of what I call a home study program. So you get the videos to watch in your own time. You get the tutorials that go with them to watch in your own time. And, you know, if it takes you a year to do it, 3 years to do it, it doesn't matter. You can just do it as and when. Because I often found myself, I would sign up for a course and life got in the way and it'd get horribly backlogged and I wasn't getting the value from turning up every week or every fortnight. And life had got in the way and it spoilt the course. And I still probably have, if I'm truthful, some courses that I've never actually finished that I kind of one day must get around to, but there you go. So at least this way, in making it available in that format, it was more accessible for people to be able to do as they needed to. Some people have finished it in a week. Some people are still going after several years, and that's their choice. And we also offered a class called a Mediumship Clinic with it as well, which is where you watch my videos, you watch my tutorials, and then you get to spend some time with me. And you can ask me questions, and you can ask me any questions you've got that haven't been covered, we can cover off. You can suggest topics, and we'll talk about topics. You know, if you want to talk about, well, confidence is a big deal. Can we talk about confidence in mediumship? Yeah, let's have a session on confidence. So those classes, if you like, they are the live class, but they go on top. You can buy the program without the live classes if you want, but if you want the live classes, you can have those too as well.
That's fantastic. I want to remind our mediums that, you know, one of the reasons I'm getting into this with Martin today is that I think he's a really good teacher. And we get so many how-to questions on Mediumship Development Forum and Mediumship 101. This is a way, and I don't have any vested interest in this. I'm not a financial person.
I can honestly say you don't.
But this is a way that we can avail ourselves of a treasure trove of information that we can return to again and again and just sort of build up our mediumship at our own pace. And I think there are any number of tutors who are doing this online now, but I really wanted you guys to get a feel for who Martin is and what his offering is in this way. And I think with that, we're going to wrap up part one of the interview with Martin Twycross. And I just want to say, if you want more information about his classes and sort of, pick through and see what's really in there, and if it's worth your time and while, his website is www.martintwycross.co.uk. And he's also got a separate URL for his course in mediumship, which is www.coursesinmediumship.com. So you can have a look at either one of both of those. And we'll be back with part two a little later. And thanks everybody for being here. Martin, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Colleen.
All right. Talk to you guys later. Hi, everybody. I'm Colleen Byram. I'm an admin on Mediumship Development Forum and on Mediumship 101 Development Group. I'm welcoming Martin Twycross here with us today. He is an AFC-approved tutor and a teacher of mediumship. He's got a very robust and detailed and rich mediumship course and DVDs and online and in other ways that you can acquire and do at a self-paced study in the home. And just let me say hi, Martin.
Hi there, Colleen. Great to be here.
Thank you. This is part 2 of our interview with Martin, and you can search around in the newsfeed and find part 1. But for part 2, we really want to talk about a couple things. One is, why is training important? There are all kinds of people here on our forum who are gifted mediums who just sort of showed up on the planet that way. And you know who you are. You guys are great. Some of the rest of us seem to benefit from a little bit of training. So, oh gosh, Martin, if you could talk about why training is important, that would be great.
Yeah, and just as you were saying that, some thoughts came to my mind that, people listening to this think, well, hang on a minute. What happens if I'm not one of those gifted people? What happens if I'm one of those people who I don't know if I have it or if I don't have it? There's only one way you're going to find out, and that is to commence training. And for me, training is the foundation of this work. And there are some people who will say, I've never done a day's training in my life, and I'm a fabulous medium. And I have to say that I've seen quite a number of those come through my classes in my time. Those who told me that I don't need training, or I was trained purely by spirit. I don't need any human physical teachers. And in my experience, it's those ones who generally either work in a really bad way or have so many faults and problems within their work. And often if it's too far advanced, I can never iron those faults out. We can never work with them. We can never convert them back to doing it in a way that works. So for me, training and good quality foundation is where it's at. And when I first set out on this path of wanting to be a medium and wanting to learn mediumship, I actually looked and thought, well, where can I get the best quality training? Where is the best quality training available? And at that moment in time, it was the Arthur Findlay College. And so I signed up to go on courses at the college. Even though I'd go with all the local tutors in my local church, all the local classes, courses around. I did all of those as well, but I wanted to go and spend time at the Arthur Findlay College to spend time with excellent tutors and to try and learn the best I could from them. And I think over the last 15, 17 years, I've done as a student about 30 weeks at the Arthur Findlay College, which is quite a lot.
Yes.
So, at the end of the day, but not everyone I know, not everyone can afford to do things like that. But it's vital for me that you seek out the highest quality teachers you can for your training. And some people say to me, well, how do you know if a circle is any good or a teacher is any good? And I always say, well, look at how they work. Look at the quality of their own work. Then secondly, are they bringing through people who get to work on a platform? Are they bringing through people who are of a good caliber? And I know some circles that never ever produce a medium. So what does that tell you? If people never go on to work with their mediumship doing sittings or platform, it tells me that really the teaching methods are not where they need to be. So I'm huge on training. I'm huge on quality teaching. And I almost see it as part of my mission as well, to make accessible that, as we spoke about in the last interview, that quality theoretical information that will help people. But that's got to be coupled with 2 other elements in my view. One is the practical, applying it in practice. And the other element is our own self-development. And for me, a huge amount of training is work on self. And another question I get asked a huge amount of times is, what course can I go on that will make me a medium? After the end of 7 days, I need to be a medium. And what can I do? And the simple answer is there isn't one. The simple answer is to develop mediumship is a lifetime's work. To develop mediumship, generally for most people, to get to a good standard will take years, maybe 5+ years for most people. And, I've been working as a platform medium now for 2003, 15 years. And I still think there's loads more to be developed within myself. I don't ever get to the point I think that's it, I'm there. How can I? And I know I'm a big fan of Gordon Higginson, which some of the people who listen to this may know. And I've built a tribute website to him. And he always said that what he knew about mediumship at the end of his life you could fit on the head of a pin.
Mm.
I liked that because he showed he didn't know it all, even though he was well known as Mr. Mediumship. He had that humility to accept that there's so much for us to learn and there's so much more for us to develop. And I love that. And, I always think about that. And so all of us, we can develop more. That's the wonderful thing.
I completely agree with that. I'll just add in my personal experience is that unlike other endeavors and fields of study that I've been involved with mediumship, the more I learn, the more humble I get. Because the more I learn, the more I realize, oh boy, this is going to be, the very beginning for a very, very, very long time, possibly ever. And that to me just says it's wise for me to continue to, go to the workshops and listen to the teachers and read the books and just continue to try to better enable myself to serve spirit in whatever way that I can, because it just my ability keeps changing. And it is changing under the influence of spirit, and it's changing under the influence of things in the physical world, and changing under the influence of my own personal development as I evolve my understanding, my philosophical understanding of spirit. So all of those things, mediumship training, spiritual philosophy, and personal development are, I think, key for all of us to continue working on.
Absolutely. And I think it's important people understand that our mediumship always changes. It never stays the same. And for all those reasons you just mentioned, at the end of the day, if we ever get to a point where we get comfortable within our mediumship, we're in for a shock, because I often liken it to being on shifting sands, quicksand. If you stand in one place for too long, you'll sink. Your mediumship will change, and you've got to adapt, and you've got to keep changing, and you've got to keep growing.
That reminds me of another question that comes up a lot on the forums that I'd love to have your take on. Mediums often write and say, I can't connect all of a sudden. Everything's gone quiet. I feel like I've dropped my abilities, and I'm kind of panicking. Help me. What's your response to that?
Well, people say to me, this is happening, and what's the problem? And it's very hard to diagnose someone's specific problem when you don't know what's going on in their lives. But whenever I hear that, I always wonder, is there something else in their life that's taken place? Are they going through a very stressful time, a difficult time? Are they unwell? Is there a physical issue, a mental, emotional issue? Have they had a bad experience that has triggered it? Sometimes somebody is going to circle and there's a falling out within the circle, and that can affect it. There are so many different factors that can affect it. And we must also accept that at certain times, because our mediumship shifts and change, sometimes we think that it's not working anymore, but it's just that we're moving between 2 points. And as we move between those 2 points, it seems like it doesn't work, but then it does again. As you get to a certain degree, we've got to have faith, but we've got to be adaptable. And I think I always say the line of mediumship isn't a straight line. It doesn't go like that. It goes in ups and downs. And sometimes it feels like we go backwards, and that happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes you feel like you're going backwards when you're not. And I remember with myself, I thought that my mediumship had got a lot worse. And I remember speaking to one of the tutors who I saw a lot at the time, and they said, no, you're actually better now. And I said, well, no, I don't think I am. And they said, gave me all the reasons why. And it's like, okay, maybe I am then. And so sometimes our own perspective isn't actually the best one. So we can't always tell if we're doing really well or not.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. Thank you for sharing that. That's super. People are going to be very consoled by that response, Martin. Thank you. So, one of the other things I really wanted to talk to you about today in particular is you and I share the point of view that one of the most key elements of mediumship is sitting in the power.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I would love it if you could give us your definition of sitting in the power, and then talk about the mechanics and the structure and what sitting in the power is for our mediums.
Well, you'll hear it said all the time that the foundation of mediumship is sitting in the power, or sometimes known as sitting for spirit. Some people call it sitting for spirit. Some people call it sitting in the power. And also, if you were to go out there and Google sitting in the power, you'll find you'll find a lot of different variations, but they all have quite a lot of common things in place. And some people will say to me, well, what's the difference between sitting for spirit and just meditating? And that's a common question. And a lot of people tell me they sit for spirit. And when I question them about, well, what exactly do you do? I go, okay, now I know. And similarly in classes, when I do classes and people say, yeah, I sit for spirit every day religiously. And we'll say, okay, let's sit in the power in the session. And I'll look and see where you're at. And I watch and I see them fidgeting and I see them scratching their heads. And I just know they're not in the power. They haven't got that attunement, that blending, and the presence of spirit is not there with them. So a lot of people think they're doing sitting in the power when they're not, which is a major challenge for a lot of people. So what exactly is sitting in the power? Well, and as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of the medium Gordon Higginson. And a lot of sitting in the power, there's a version I have by him that he teaches, which is available on the Gordon Higginson website for free to download a few meditations. You'll see the foundations of sitting in the power there with him. And I know Glyn Edwards did a version of sitting in the power. I have my own version. They all have the same core elements primarily. And sitting in the power is an attunement meditation with spirit. Now, for me, there's different kinds of meditations. There's a relaxation where we just relax ourselves. And a lot of those people who are doing what they believe sitting in the power is, a lot of them are just in a state of relaxing and letting their mind wander. And that's not sitting in the power at all. For me, sitting in the power, it's a disciplined meditation. We have to have a focus. We have to have awareness. And it's about attunement. And the thing is, people say to me, well, can't I just develop mediumship without it? And I'll say, well, when you think about working as a medium, you need a relaxed mind. You need to be able to access the subconscious mind. You need to access your soul. You want to be able to blend with the spirit world. You want to be able to quieten your own thoughts, your own mind, the chatter of the mind. We want to move the mind to somewhere where we know that it's not our own mind throwing information in. When we're doing mediumship, if your mind's throwing information in, you're going to be in trouble. So we learn to quieten the mind, to calm the mind, to remove the monkey mind. And meditation is the tool, the tool for that. We need to understand our own energy, because if you don't understand your own energy and spirit blends with you, how can you differentiate what spirit have brought versus what you are? And some people say our aura, our energy field is our workspace as a medium. And it's the truth, which is spirit blend with our energies, and we need to be able to feel them and how they make us feel. So we've got to get used to us. And the way we get used to us is by sitting in our own power, sitting in our own energy, understanding what our energy is like. When we expand our awareness, when we expand our own power and we sit within it, we learn what our own energy is. So from that perspective, it's so vital we do it, just to learn about us, really. And then also, we need to blend with the spirit realm as a medium. And when we sit, the second half of sitting in the power is generally moving to blend with spirit and just to have an experience of being in the presence of spirit. And something Gordon Higginson would always say, which I think is lovely, is that no time spent in the presence of spirit is ever wasted. No time spent in the presence of spirit is ever wasted. And when you think about it, we want to learn to blend with spirit. We want to be a medium. And even when we're doing evidential mediumship, even when we're doing platform mediumship, the guides and helpers are involved in the process. Some people say you link straight to the mind of spirit. Well, you do, but it's facilitated by the guides and the helpers. And they need to know how our minds work. They need to know how we operate. So they need time to learn about us. And if you want to work as a trance medium, it's vital as well that they learn to blend with you. So when we spend time sitting for spirit, sitting blended with spirit, we give those in the spirit world who work with us that opportunity to learn about us. We give them that opportunity to see how our minds work, to see how our energy works, to see how they can best fine-tune the process of mediumship for us so it works well. And people say to me, well, I don't bother sitting in the power. And then we watch them work and we'll go, we can see it's not quite there. If you did sit in the power, maybe it would be there. And for me, the key thing about it is attunement, and it requires focus. And the main focus most people use is the breathing. So we bring our awareness to the breathing. For those unfamiliar we're sitting in the power. The version I use, which is taught by a great many mediums as well, I didn't invent it, I hasten to add. I've taken bits from Gordon's. I enjoyed Glenn's. I've heard Glenn's many times. I've sat in classes with Glenn at the college doing it. I've sat in classes with many other people at the college who do it. So my version is a mishmash and amalgam of the bits that fit for me. And the thing to bear in mind is other people's versions may work better for you. We all have to find what works best for us. But the version I use, which is not too dissimilar to other people's, is that we bring our awareness to our own soul, to that aspect, that divine spark at the center of our being. We bring our mind to it, and we use our breathing as the anchor. We use our breathing as the main focus. Then with each breath, we visualize that energy, that light growing, that spark growing, moving to fill, that light moving to fill our entire body, moving to expand out into the room, moving to expand out beyond the room, into the ground, into Mother Earth, expanding out into the universe. And we just grow our own energy, our own power. That's what we're expanding. That's what we're sitting within. And for me, I also like to imagine us also pushing out the love that comes from our heart, our core as well. Because for me, when I've looked at great mediums from the past, I love looking at the great mediums to try and find what is it about their mediumship that made it so fantastic. And great mediums like Gordon, great mediums like Estelle Roberts, great mediums like Helen Hughes, they worked from a position of love and they emanated love. So if we learn to emanate love, it draws the spirit world to us as well. So for me, I bring that into my own sitting in the power that I don't think is present in many others, but that for me feels right. That we should be emanating the love from within us as well. That's a bit that fits for me. If it doesn't fit for you and you feel it's a bit too out there, let it go. So the first half, we spend time in our own power. And some people say to me, if I'm short for time, do I just go straight to spirit, which is the second half? And I say, no. If you're short on time, in your power. And if you like, we learn to build our power to take it to the spirit world, to blend with spirit. So if we make our power really small, we're only taking a small bit to blend. But if we make our power large, we're taking much more to blend with. And if we make our power massive and we take that to the spirit world, again, it will improve. The results we'll see are partly about our own power. And Gordon Higginson also, I've got a most wonderful recording where he says, our own power should be so very strong that we can impregnate it in the walls of the building we're stood in. We should be able to push it out so it can be felt within the walls of the building. Wow. When he arrived at the Arthur Findlay College, everyone always said you could feel the moment he walked in. He filled that hall with his presence. So the clues are here for us to look at. So that's your first half. Your second half for me is then we stay, and the whole time what we do is staying with the first half. We stay with our breathing, the in-breath, the out-breath. We sit attuned to our own soul, attuned to our own light. We grow our light. Then all of a sudden the phone rings and it all collapses and it all goes to pot. So then you've got to go back to the beginning. You go back, you touch that center of your being, you grow the light, you grow your power, you build it out, you push it out. You sit there in the center, attuned, holding it. And then you think about dinner tonight. What am I going to cook for dinner? And you've lost it. And then you go back and it's the art of discipline to take us back time and time again. When we're doing mediumship and we lose the link with spirit, we get straight back in, we build it, we hold it. We've lost it. Straight back in, build it, hold it. It's exactly the same. The sitting in the power is the foundation for doing that. So we learn to hold that focus, we hold that attunement, we hold that awareness. And when I watch people, they lose it, they hold the attunement a bit, then they lose it, and then they go on a nice journey with their mind, or they just sit there relaxing. And that's not going to help you. It's not going to help you at all. So if we're going to sit for spirit, we should be attuned. It's in a state of attunement. That's what it is. So the second part is we still stay centered in our own energy, our own power. And then we imagine ourselves blending with the spirit world. Some people say you imagine yourself going up to blend with spirit. Other people say you imagine the spirit world blending with you or the spirit world coming to you. It doesn't matter. Whichever version works best for you. But we have an intent to blend with spirit. And through our own visualization, we're blending. And we should feel the difference when spirit blends with us. Usually most people, it feels a great deal more. They go, whoa, spirit's blending with me now. This is amazing. And so people say to me, well, what do you get? And I always say, what you get is unique to you. What you get will be, how your energy is and how it affects your energy is unique to you. So for me, I kind of get static electricity around me. If you ever go out on a thunderstorm and your hair stands on end, I haven't got so much to stand on end these days. But if your hair stands on end, that really charged atmosphere, people get tingling feelings. You can get like cobwebbing where the skin feels like there's cobwebs on your skin. There's so many different things you can get. But the key is that you're feeling something. And that we compare what we get when we sit in our own power to what we compare when we sit with the power of spirit. And there's a difference. But most people love the energy they get from the spirit world. Absolutely. And so most people say, I'm just going to go straight to spirit because that's where I feel the most and that's why I love the energy. And we skip building our own power. And so we end up taking that little bit of us to spirit instead of that great big of us to spirit. So it's important that we make sure we do the first half. And if people say, I'm short of time, do the first half. Don't do the second. With experience, when you've learned to build the first part of your own power, and you move to the second part, great. And I will say that power is the fuel for mediumship. Power is the key for mediumship. And when we're blended with the spirit world, it helps build our own reserves of power to work with spirit, which is why we call it sitting in the power. It's almost like you're getting the top up from spirit while we're sat in that energy. And when we're working with mediumship, if you're working in front of an audience on platform, you get power given to you from the audience through their attention, through their love, through their interest in the process. But if there's no audience, the power just drops dramatically, and you're just reliant upon that power that you've built yourself, the power you've built through spending time with spirit. And there's many mediums I watch, and you look at them, and in front of a big audience, they're good. But when the audience is small, it all starts to fall apart, or it all starts to break at the seams. And it shows, do you know what? They haven't learned to build their own power. They haven't learned to take themselves to the spirit world to do that. And at the end of the day, if we want to be the best mediums we can be, that's the vital importance of doing it. And even myself, I feel when the audience power is not there, usually the last link of a demonstration, when people realize this is not for me, and then they start fidgeting around to get their change out, or they get a sweetie out and they lose interest in what's being said. And you just feel the power drop. You need your own power to push through that and keep the link at the end as good as a link you began with. So it's vital. So that for me is the process. How long to do it? People say, well, how long should I be sitting in the power for? And I'd rather people did 10 minutes of pure attunement than half an hour of just letting their mind wander and being in a wonderful state of relaxation and a wonderful state of just listening to their breathing. Because, and the funny thing is, sitting in the power actually takes effort. It takes work. It takes discipline. And people say to me, well, I'll just do it before I go to bed. Now, if you're sleepy at that point in time, fail. You'll either fall asleep or you'll not have the discipline to keep coming back to it. So I always tell people, do it at the point of the day you can where you're at your best. If you're no good in the mornings, don't do it first thing in the mornings. If you're no good at the end of the day, don't do it there. Do it at a point in your day when you can give it your full focus, your full awareness. And try and keep it the same time if you can. Now, some people say, should I do it every day? Ideally, if you can. But if you can't do it every day, a few times per week. Now, I'll let you into a little secret here. I didn't used to sit in the power as often as I should. And I know there's many mediums, if they're honest, would probably say the same. And I then made a commitment where I would sit in it a lot more. And the difference that happened for me, even as a developed medium, was quite significant. So I saw a huge change. And the idea when I first brought in this idea of emanating love as part of the process, and even when I'm blended with spirit, I still want to emanate the love to the spirit world because I love spirit. I love working with the spirit world. I'm sending them my love. And I found that bringing that love into mediumship actually made a huge difference as well. And some people say, is there anything better than sitting in the power you can give me as a tool or a key to make my mediumship better? And I say, well, not really. No, that is the basis, the fundamental. But the day I learned about emanating love, for me, that was almost a step change. That was a key that unlocked the door. It's like, oh, okay. I remember doing a class about Helen Hughes, who was known as Helen the Beloved because she emanated so much love. And I remember going away from that class thinking, okay, let's now bring that in. Let's try that myself. Let's see how it works. And then I thought, let's put it in Sitting in the Power. Let's see how that works. And we have to do this. We have to constantly test and experiment with our own mediumship, experiment with ourselves. We are our own guinea pig. I can tell you what works for me. I can tell you what works for some mediums, others. But at the end of the day, what works for you is really specific and unique to you, just as what you feel in the power is unique to you. So do you feel, have I given you enough on my take on
I think that's terrific, Martin. Yes, absolutely. That was, as I would expect, generous and full-featured. And you helped distinguish between meditation and sitting in the power, which I think is something that we need to return to time and again. Thank you for that. That was very kind of you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think I'm going to conclude with that gratitude, because this has been some really beautiful teaching that we've benefited from Martin sharing with us today. And I hope everyone can take this to heart. Maybe we'll have some more discussions about sitting in the power on the forums, and all improve our mediumship with that. Martin, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, will you promise to come back when the book is done, and when then we can hold the book up and say, here it is?
Absolutely.
Okay, super. Thanks so much. Yeah, me too. Thanks so much for being here, and thank everybody for tuning in and being with us here today. I really appreciate you guys. And if there's anything else you'd like to share with me, please put it in the comments, and I will catch you a little later. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
If you would like to experience my Sitting in the Power meditation, it is available as an audio download or a CD from my website, which is www.martintwycrossproducts.co.uk. I also offer a series of 24 videos covering all aspects of mediumship, mediumship classes 1 to 12, plus an additional 12 special topics videos. They are all available as video downloads or DVDs. If you're interested in learning more about Sitting in the Power, I recommend you purchase Mediumship Class 2, which is Building Power and Sitting for Spirit. For more information on my Course in Mediumship study program, you can visit www.courseinmediumship.com. The program is available as 4 modules. Each module costs £100 for the supply of 10 classes in each module as downloads. Module 1 is the module which covers the basics, including building power and sitting for spirit. So more information on that you can get from www.courseinmediumship.com.